He cheated with another dude. My heart broke twice. The chipped mug warmed my hands, a small comfort against the chill that had settled in my bones. 5 years. 5 goddamn years I'd poured into building a life with Mark. A life I thought was solid, built on a foundation of love and trust. Turns out the foundation was sand, and the tide had finally come in. It started subtly, the way these things always do. He'd work late more often, claiming a new project was demanding all his time. He'd be less affectionate, his kisses perfunctory, his hugs fleeting. I chalked it up to stress, the pressures of his job at that tech company that seemed to suck the life out of him. I even bought him one of those fancy massage pillows, thinking it might help him relax. Then came the phone. He'd always been pretty open with his phone, leaving it on the coffee table, unlocked while he showered or made dinner. But lately it was always glued to his hand, face down on the table, password protected. He'd jump if I even glanced in its direction. "Everything okay, babe?" I asked one evening, trying to sound casual as he scrolled through something on his phone, a strange tightness in his jaw. He looked up, startled. "Yeah, fine. Just work stuff." He locked the phone and tossed it onto the couch, but the tension lingered in the air between us. The gift receipt was the first real punch to the gut. I found it crumpled in the pocket of his favorite leather jacket, the one he only wore on special occasions. Noir Intense Cologne, the receipt read, $120. I hadn't bought him cologne recently. He hadn't bought cologne recently. He mostly used the same sandalwood scent he'd had since college, and he never wore cologne to work. I showed it to Chloe, my best friend since kindergarten. We were crammed into her tiny apartment, surrounded by half-empty wine glasses and takeout containers. "Okay," Chloe said, tapping the receipt with a long, manicured nail. "This is suspicious, but maybe it's a gift for someone else. A client? A secret Santa thing at work. He hates Secret Santa," I said, shaking my head. "And he would have mentioned a client. We tell each other everything." "Do you, though?" Chloe asked gently, her eyes searching mine. "Or do you think you do?" Her words stung, but I knew she was right. There had been a distance growing between us, a silence filling the spaces where conversation used to flow. "I don't know," I admitted, feeling a knot tightening in my stomach. I have this feeling, like something's not right." "Then trust your gut," Chloe said, squeezing my hand. "But don't jump to conclusions. Just keep your eyes open." So I did. I started paying closer attention. The lunches he claimed were networking. The late nights fueled by urgent deadlines. I even started driving past his office building after work, just to see if his car was still there. One afternoon, I saw him walking down the street with a man I didn't recognize. They were laughing, their heads close together. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but the easy intimacy of their body language sent a shiver down my spine. I told myself it was just a colleague, a friendly lunch, but the feeling persisted. Then Emily, one of Mark's co-workers, stopped me at the coffee shop near my office. We'd met a few times at company parties, always polite, surface-level conversations. "Sarah, hi," she said, her voice bright. "How are you?" "Good, thanks," I said, forcing a smile. "Busy as always. How's Mark?" "Oh, he's great," Emily said, her smile widening. "He and David have been working so hard on that new project. They're practically inseparable these days." "David?" I asked, trying to keep my voice even. "Who's David?" "Oh, you haven't met him. He's new to the team. Really nice guy. Super smart. He and Mark are like two peas in a pod. Two peas in a pod." The phrase echoed in my head as I walked back to my office. David, the man from the street. The recipient of the Noir Intense Cologne, perhaps. That night, while Mark was in the shower, I did something I never thought I was capable of. I invaded his privacy. I picked up his phone, the familiar weight of it suddenly foreign in my hand. I knew his passcode, a combination of our anniversary date and his mother's birth year. I felt a pang of guilt, but the need to know was overwhelming. I scrolled through his messages, my heart pounding in my chest. There were dozens of texts from a contact saved simply as D. At first, they seemed innocuous, just work-related chatter. But as I scrolled further back, the tone shifted. The messages became more personal, more suggestive. Thinking about last night, one message read, "Can't wait to see you again. Miss your touch," another one said. My hands started to shake. I felt like I was going to be sick. I took a screenshot of the most incriminating messages, then quickly deleted them from his phone's history. I needed proof, something concrete to confront him with. When he came out of the shower, wrapped in a towel, I was sitting on the bed, staring at the wall. He walked over and kissed me on the forehead. "Everything okay?" he asked, his voice casual. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the phone at his head, but I forced myself to remain calm. "Who's D?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He stiffened. "D? What are you talking about?" "The messages, Mark," I said, turning to face him. The ones on your phone. Who is D? He hesitated for a moment, then his face hardened. It's just a client, he said. Someone I'm working with. Don't lie to me, I said, my voice rising. I saw the messages. They're not just work-related. He sighed and ran a hand through his wet hair. Look, Sarah, you're overreacting. It's nothing. Just harmless flirting. Harmless flirting, I repeated, incredulous. You're telling me those messages were just harmless flirting? Are you serious? Yes, he said, his voice firm. You're being paranoid. You need to trust me. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him. But the evidence was overwhelming. I spent the next few days in a state of constant anxiety, replaying the messages in my head, searching for any sign, any clue that I had missed. I couldn't eat or sleep. I felt like I was living in a nightmare. Then I found the dating profile. It was on his laptop, hidden in a folder buried deep within his files. A profile on a dating site for men seeking men. The profile was old, dating back to before we started dating, but it was still active. He hadn't deleted it. My world tilted on its axis. I stared at the profile picture, a younger version of Mark, smiling confidently into the camera. The profile described him as curious and exploring his options. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the realization that I didn't know him at all. He had been hiding a part of himself from me, a fundamental part of his identity. But the final nail in the coffin came in the form of a photo. It was posted on David's social media page, a picture of him and Mark sitting at a table at a trendy cafe. They were holding hands, their fingers intertwined. The caption read, "Great date, looking forward to seeing you again." The photo was quickly deleted, but not before I had taken a screenshot. I had all the proof I needed. That night, I waited for Mark to come home from work. I sat on the couch, clutching the phone in my hand, my heart pounding in my chest. When he walked through the door, I stood up and faced him. "We need to talk," I said, my voice trembling. He looked at me, his expression wary. "What's wrong?" I showed him the phone, the photo of him and David on the screen. His face drained of color. "What is this?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He didn't say anything. He just stared at the phone, his eyes wide with fear. "Is this true?" I asked, my voice rising. "Are you with him?" He finally looked up at me, his eyes filled with tears. "Sarah," he said, his voice cracking. I don't know what to say. "Tell me the truth," I demanded. "Are you cheating on me? With him?" He hesitated for a moment, then he nodded. "Yes," he said, his voice barely audible. "I'm sorry." The words hit me like a physical blow. I felt like I couldn't breathe. "How could you?" I asked, tears streaming down my face. "How could you do this to me? To us?" "I didn't mean to," he said, his voice pleading. "I never meant to hurt you. It just happened." "It just happened?" I repeated, incredulous. "You've been lying to me for months. You've been sneaking around behind my back, and you're telling me it just happened." "I still love you," he said, reaching for me. "I still want to be with you." I recoiled from his touch. "Don't touch me," I said, my voice shaking. "Don't you dare tell me you love me. You don't know what love is." "I'm confused," he said, his voice desperate. "I don't know what I want. I love you, but I have feelings for him. I don't know what to do." "Get out," I said, my voice cold. "Just get out of my life." He stared at me, his face filled with pain. "Sarah, please," he begged. "Don't do this. Let's talk about it. Let's work things out." "There's nothing to work out," I said, turning away from him. "It's over. I'm done." I packed a bag filled with the bare essentials. As I walked out the door, I glanced back at him. He was standing in the middle of the living room, his face buried in his hands. He looked lost and broken. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. I had to leave. I had to escape the suffocating weight of his betrayal. I spent the next few weeks crashing on Chloe's couch, a shell of my former self. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't stop crying. The pain was constant, a dull ache in my chest that wouldn't go away. Chloe was amazing. She let me cry on her shoulder, she made me tea, she ordered takeout, she forced me to watch stupid reality shows. She didn't try to fix me, she just let me be. One night, I wandered into a bar near Chloe's apartment. I just needed to get out of the house to be around people, even if I didn't talk to them. I ordered a glass of wine and sat at the bar, staring blankly ahead. The bartender, a tall, lanky guy with kind eyes, noticed my distress. "Rough day?" he asked, his voice gentle. I shrugged. "You could say that. Want to talk about it?" he asked. "I'm a good listener." I hesitated for a moment, then I started to talk. I told him about Mark, about the lies, about the betrayal. I told him everything. He listened patiently, nodding occasionally, offering words of comfort and support. When I was finished, he poured me another glass of wine. "That sounds like a really tough situation," he said. "You deserve better." His name was Liam. He was a bartender, a struggling musician, and a genuinely nice guy. We talked for hours that night, about everything and nothing. He made me laugh, he made me feel seen, he made me feel like I wasn't alone. In the days that followed, I started seeing a therapist. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was also the most important. She helped me unpack my emotions, to understand what happened, and to start to heal. Mark tried to contact me, leaving messages on my phone, sending emails. He begged for forgiveness. He promised to change. He said he couldn't live without me. I ignored him. I knew that going back would be a mistake. I couldn't trust him. I couldn't forgive him. I did eventually agree to meet him, though, in the neutral territory of a coffee shop. I needed closure. He looked terrible. He had lost weight, his eyes were bloodshot, and his clothes were rumpled. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Sarah," he said, his voice hoarse, "I'm so sorry. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but I promise I can change. I can be the man you deserve." I looked at him, and for a moment I felt a flicker of the old feelings, the love and the affection that I had felt for him for so long. But then I remembered the lies, the secrets, the betrayal, and the flicker died. "It's too late, Mark," I said, my voice firm. "I can't forgive you. I can't trust you. It's over." He started to cry. "Please," he begged, "don't do this. I love you." "I loved you too," I said, "but you broke my heart. Twice. I don't think I can ever get over that." I stood up and walked away, leaving him sitting at the table, his head in his hands. I didn't look back. It took a long time, but eventually I started to heal. I focused on my career, I reconnected with friends, I started doing things that I enjoyed. I rediscovered my passions, the things that made me feel alive. I learned to be alone. I learned to love myself. I learned that I was stronger than I thought. I still think about Mark sometimes. I wonder how he's doing, if he's happy. I hope he's found peace. One evening, I was at Liam's bar celebrating a promotion at work. He poured me a glass of champagne, his eyes sparkling. "Congratulations," he said, raising his glass. "You deserve it." "Thanks," I said, smiling. "I couldn't have done it without you." We clinked glasses, and as I looked at him, I realized something. I was happy. Not in the same way I had been with Mark, but in a different, more profound way. I was happy with myself. I was happy with my life. And I was open to the future, whatever it may hold. Maybe even to the possibility of love someday.